Hi, this is Adam. Welcome to the Athlete's Pursuit of Excellence training vlog number 11. This week the vlog would be divided into 5 parts that will help you be the best athlete you can possibly be. In the first part, we will analyze my physical training. This week I will explain in particular how an outdoor trip can benefit your training if it's well planned. Then I'm going to describe the strength training exercise of the week. This week it's an explosive exercise called the explosive front kick with elastic. After that, I'm going to share you the book of the week and the album that I listened to the most on the bike. I will finish the vlog by answering a question that comes up really often. This week we're talking about the physiological data, so the A.L.L, the C.T.L, the T.S.B, T.S.S, and E.F. So just before I start, if you're interested, I'm now offering a training service on my Patreon. The link is just down there in my bio. So okay, let's start this. So for physical training, it's a little different of all the other week, because out of the 7 days of training this week, 4 of them were in Saguenay. My girlfriend and I left on January 1st, early in the morning to do 4 days of outdoor. So the main reason why I decided to take 4 days of vacation day is really because, first of all, I wanted to spend quality time in nature with Camille. But from a performance perspective, however, I believe that taking an active vacation can be really beneficial for an athlete, and if it's taken strategically and it includes a very disciplined schedule, it can be very good for training. So when I say strategic, I'm talking about the time of the year. So for example, I don't think it's really optimal to take 5 days off or 5 days of backcountry skiing, for example, 3 days before a race. However, if it's done out of the season between 2 quality training blocks on the bike, in my opinion, it can be a very good way to increase the volume without compromising your motivation. When I talk about the importance of keeping a disciplined schedule, I'm mainly talking about hours of sleep. So as you may know, when you're traveling, it's really easy to always want to do more and end up with far too short night of sleep. So the danger of an outdoor trip like this is to build up unnecessary fatigue that will harm the next few weeks of training. So without discipline, for example, for me it will have very been easy to sleep for 7 hours a night instead of 10 hours. And if I had done that, I guarantee you that the 4 days after the 4 days of skiing, I would be significantly more fatigued. And when I return to a specific cycling training, I would for sure be a lot more fatigued. So overall, as I said, I think that going out on another physical activity trip is a good way to take in volume. Get out of routine and also rest your head, but only if you make sure your schedule is well and it's keep in a tight discipline, so you're sure to have the right amount of sleep. So now let's take a closer look at this week training. So Monday I took a rest day, 1 hour easy spin. Here the goal was really to adjust the link with the perception of fatigue accumulating during the holiday, so it was up to me. Wednesday, that's when me and Camille went to Saguenay. So to be able to enjoy the day, anyway, we stopped halfway at the Jacques-Cartier National Park for a hike of about 10 kilometers with an elevation of about 425 meters. It's about 2 hours and 30 snowshoeing hike. For us, it was excellent for cutting the travel day in two and making sure to train for the days. We did the trail that is called the escarpment. The last 2K are really steep, but you're rewarded with an awesome view at the top. Thursday we went to the Mont Valais National Park to do a 19-kilometer loop. Honestly, on the 4 hour 15 of moving time, the first 3 hours were mostly uphill and it was quite a workout. It's really easy to increase your heart rate above 150 BPM when it's a 20-30% gradient and you have skis on your feet. Friday we went skiing at the Saguenay Fjord. But when we got there, at the entrance of the park, we realized that the park was not open during the winter. So we took our cross-country ski to do the first 8K on the road. We skied on the road to get to the edge of the fjord. When we got there, we did a super steep 2-kilometer hike with our cross-country skiing boot to get to the top of the cliff and have honestly one of the most beautiful breathtaking view on the fjord. Overall, in that day, it gives us a training of like 3 hours and 40. 2 hours were skiing and 1 hour 40 was hiking. Thursday, we went back to Saturday, we went back to the Mont Valin National Park very early to take the shuttle, which takes us completely to the other end of the park in the Alexis Bay area. So honestly, this is one of the most beautiful hikes I have done in my own entire life. We went up to the top of Pic du Buc it is called. It's a little less than 100 meters of altitude, which is very, very high for Quebec standard. And from there, we went down in powder snow for like 23K. It was a super day, and in addition, it was a great training for working on my stability and on my reflexes. So Sunday, I ended up the week with a workout that I have right here. So the effort percentage here are based on my FTP. So on my maximum power for 1 hour. So it's about, for me, 400 watts. So the first 10 minutes, it was an easy spin. After that, I followed that by a 5 minutes build up to 85%. After that, 2 to 3 minutes easy. After that, 3 times 30 seconds. So the first 30 seconds was at 100%. Second one was at 120%. Third one was at 130%. And I had the 30-second breather in between each interval. After that, 2 to 3 minutes easy. And after that, it was the main set of intervals. So 3 times 4 minutes at 90% with 1 minute recovery. After that, 3 times 3 minutes at 95% with 2 minutes recovery. After that, 3 times 1 minute at 120% with 4 minutes recovery. And I finished a workout with 10 minutes feel good at TT pace, so around 90% of my FTP. And I finished that with a cool down. So just by the way, if you're interested in this workout, this is one of the 12 workouts of the month of January that are my favorite workout and that I've proven to be the most effective for improving my performance. So they are available if you are interested. Overall, it gives me a week of 17 hours and 45 minutes with an effort level of 800 TSS for the week. So now for the strength training exercise, this week we are going to analyze an explosive exercise. The exercise is called explosive front kick with elastic. So to do the exercise, we attach an elastic band to the wall and we put the other end of the elastic band on our foot. So the objective here is to kick the foot with the elastic band forward as quick as possible. We want to make sure to stay stable on the opposite legs, making sure to avoid any rotation movement in the frontal plane. The trick to develop as much power as possible is really to make sure to time our breathing with the movement, so that the kick forward is timed with the expiration. So if I do an example, it's like it's really a perfect exercise to work on the pulse explosivity and also improve our power when we're doing a maximum sprint on the bike. So again, if you're interested in this exercise, it's one of the 15 other specific strength training exercises for cyclists of January, and you can access it on my Patreon. Now let's go to the book of the week. This week is Yuval Harrari book Sapien. Yuval Harrari has a PhD in history from the University of Oxford. He is currently a professor at the University of Jerusalem. Honestly, it's a fascinating and extremely well-written book that takes us from the beginning of Homo Sapien to today. So quickly, there are like 4 ideas that made like the most impact on me. So the first one is really to realize that at one time, Homo Sapien, us, we live with two other human species. So we live with Homo erectus and the Neanderthal at the same time, and the three species use fire on a daily basis. So like that's pretty interesting to me. The second is to understand that farming and agriculture is very something that is extremely new, and that the majority of the evolution of our species has been done as a hunter-gatherer. So, in fact, like I think this fact makes us think a lot when we eat like oatmeal in the morning, bar on the bike, and pasta in the evening. The third is really to understand that all the orders of our worlds and all our desire are only a product of our imagination. To really know that what we believe to be like natural or inevitable is truly only a construct of our culture. And the last one is to understand that the specific revolution the scientific revolution, differ from all the other ideology or religion. Why? Because it's like based on the assumption of ignorance rather than knowledge, and therefore it allows us, by admitting like our ignorance, it allows us to find new knowledge that help us to increase humans' power with the help of mathematics. So that's it for the four ideas. So if you are interested in going into detail in those 4 points, I strongly suggest the book. Honestly, I think it's an important read, because knowing where we come from ultimately, I think, help us understand each other better. So again, the book of the week is Sapien by Yuval and Harrari. So the album I listened the most during my training this week is the album by Against All Logic, 2017, sorry. So Against All Logic is a dance electronic project produced entirely by the artist Nicolas Jarre. If I had one word to describe the album, I would say mesmerizing. Like, quick story, I went down Big Bear Mountain 2 years ago with the Silver Pro Cycling guys, and we played this album in the car, and let me tell you, everyone was almost like in a trance state, with the twisting road mixed with like the landscape and the music. It really like transported us in the flow state, I would say. So if you're looking for the perfect album to go down the mountain on your bike and get into flow, 2012-2017 for me, by Against All Logic is the album I think you should choose. So finally, let's go to the question of the week. This week we'll make a change. Normally I answer like 4 or 5 short questions, but here I will answer a question that has already come back 3 times. So many of you want to know what are the A.T.L, C.T.L, TBS, TSS, and EF metric that we see are like on a Training Peak or on Strava. So for today I'm really going to only define the term. So if you're interested in having more detail on how to use them to plan training, or how to use them to like track your evolution, write it in the comment and I'll try to include it in future video. So here on the graph, so as we can see, we have like the 4 measures. So the first one is the A.T.L. It's the pink curve. It represents like the effect of the last 7 days of training. So the higher our A.T.L, the higher our training load, and like it's like a short-term measure that really calculates our fatigue. After that, we have the C.T.L here. It's the dark blue curve that calculates our form. It's like the A.T.L, but it represents the effect of the last 42 days of training. So the higher the C.T.L, the higher your training load in the last 42 days. The real difference between the A.T.L and the C.T.L is that the C.T.L is a form indicator, which is measured on the long term rather than on the short term. The TBS is the yellow curve. It's the difference between your fitness level and your fatigue level, and measure the difference between your A.T.L and your C.T.L. So the difference between your level of effort and the level of fatigue. So the TBS allow us vary to determine our level of freshness. So the higher it is, the fresher we are, and vice versa. The TSS, are the red dot, is the measure of the level of effort of our training session. So the algorithm measures this with our FTP. So the higher the intensity level, the higher the TSS, the longer the training, the higher the TSS. So finally, we have the EF. They are the blue dots. This is the measure of the intensity of the training session. So the higher the intensity the training, the more the EF will be. So with the EF, we can also measure our TSS. So the higher the EF, the higher the TSS. So here they are. So that are like 5 main data of Analist. Again, if you want to go in like more detail about how to use them well in an effective way, just tell me in the comment. So yeah, that's about it for this week. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something that will help you in your development. I hope to see you in the next vlog next week for vlog number 12. And in the meantime, I wish you a very great week of training. Bye bye.